Luntha Television, and you're with me, Fales Chizombe. First, the headlines. Pope Leo XIV says active participation in liturgy deepens relationship with God and his saving work. Norwegian Church Aid and Danish Church Aid urges stronger advocacy for climate action and financing. Retired Brigadier General and former Donia pilot tells Chikangawa plane crash inquiry the accident was avoidable, citing weather and aviation information. And in other news, Nigeria president orders manhunt after deadly mass kidnapping. We have the details to these stories and more to stay with us. Pope Leo XIV has encouraged the faithful to participate actively in the liturgy, stressing that the Church's sacred celebrations provide an opportunity to enter into a deeper relationship with God and experience his saving work. During his Wednesday general audience in St. Peter's Basilica, the Holy Father continued his catechist on the documents of the Second Vatican Council, concluding his reflections on the 1963 Constitution on the Sacred Liturgy, Sacrosanctum Concilium. We have a Vatican News report read by Patrick Popa.
Pope Leo reflected on the liturgical reform promoted by the Second Vatican Council, noting that it was rooted in the living tradition of the Church and aimed at helping the faithful participate more fully in the sacred ministries. He explained that the gestures and words of the liturgy are essential to experiencing a true relationship with God, and therefore the participation of the faithful cannot be passive. The Pope noted that Sacrosanctum Concilium called on Christians not to remain strangers or silent spectators, but to take part in the sacred action with awareness, devotion, and full collaboration. Pope Leo also stressed the responsibility of bishops and priests to safeguard and promote a liturgy that respects the Church's norms, shines with noble simplicity, and manifests the unity of the one, holy, Catholic, and Apostolic Church. He said that such a liturgy becomes a fundamental instrument of evangelization and a channel of grace, helping believers learn to offer themselves through Christ and grow in unity with God and with one another. Pope Leo concluded by explaining that the liturgy as a living reality has developed throughout the centuries, and that the Council sought to make its text and rites more accessible so that the faithful may understand them with greater ease and participate fully, actively, and as a community.
Bishop of the Diocese of Kalonga, His Lordship Martin Mtumbuka, has called for greater efforts among parents and stakeholders to keep young people in Chitipa district in school, expressing concern over young people from communities along the Songwe Basin crossing into Tanzania in search of cultural employment. Speaking during confirmation mass at St. John Paul II Parish in Chitipa on Monday, Bishop Mtumbuka noted that the situation exposes the youth to exploitative and demeaning working conditions. Adams Mwenerupembe has filed this report.
In his remarks, Bishop Mtumbuka emphasized on the importance of education, particularly in communities along the Songwe Basin. He noted that parents, girls and boys, need to be aware of the dangers associated with such movements, stressing that young people are not being taken across the border against their will. The bishop then disclosed that the diocese has a project planned along the Songwe Basin, which he hopes will help address some of the challenges contributing to the movement of young people across the border. He has since pledged that the Church will continue supporting spiritual, physical, and intellectual growth of young people.
I'm very unhappy about this, and I think we should do everything possible to enlighten the parents, the girls and boys about the seriousness of allowing young people to throw themselves into this danger. basically becoming slaves of the Tanzanians just across the river Songwe. But the Tanzanians don't come and steal the children from here. It is us who allow the children to go over. So we have a big project along the long Songwe Basin, and we hope this project will address some of these problems. But I'm completely against this of throwing children into this kind of slavitude.
At the conclusion of this year's confirmation program in the Diocese of Karonga, Bishop Mtumbuka described the significant number of young people receiving the sacrament of confirmation across its parishes as a sign of growth in the Catholic community. Reporting for Luntha Television in Karonga, this is Adams Mwenelpembe.
Catholic Care for Children Malawi has reaffirmed its commitment to promoting family-based care for vulnerable children, saying integrating them into families is key to ensuring their well-being, protection, and long-term development. CCM Programs Manager Sister Justa Kanama made the remarks during the stakeholders engagement meeting on strengthening family-based care for children held on Tuesday at Msamba Catholic Center in Lilongwe. Gift Kalonga has filed this report.
Sister Kanama said the organization has been strengthening child reintegration and promoting positive parenting since 2023. She said CCM works with families and childcare institutions to prepare children for a safe return to their families. She added that CCM also works with Catholic dioceses and parishes to identify and support vulnerable families before separation occurs. She urged community to support families in need and promote family-based care for children.
There are so many people who are encouraging that and making sure that children should be safe and should be considered as part and parcel of the society. So the significance is once we meet and discuss the issues concerning children, they will be able to work hand in hand in order to protect the lives of children, those who are vulnerable and those who have been placed in different institutions.
The executive committee member of the Association of Women Religious Institutes of Malawi, AURIM, Sister Mary Manje, said successive child reintegration requires proper assessment and support for families, emphasizing the need for empowerment, which would ensure that children return to safe and nurturing homes where they can receive love, guidance, and a sense of belonging.
It is important to know how to assess the families where they are coming from, to know the challenges that they are facing, to understand how these families can support them to be able to fit back and really be taken care of in an environment where they will feel they belong. They can also be participants in what is happening in their families and also contribute to the growth of the family, of their own families.
Highlighting on the role of the Church Secretary General of the Malawi Conference of Catholic Bishops, MCCB, Father Valeriano Mseka, said the Church empowers families to care for and guide their children, help them grow into responsible citizens and mature Christians. He added that strong families are essential to achieving the aspirations of Malawi 2063.
For any child to grow with the values, he or she has to grow in a family setup. And that's why we encourage that families have to be strong. We encourage that the people that have chosen to undertake the family life have to make sure that they are doing their role as per what God wants them to do. And then in this case, they have to make sure that they are able to sit down, understand their children, they are able to care for their children, and also at the same time make sure that they impart the faith values which the church teaches.
The engagement brought together representatives from Catholic congregations, dioceses, the Malawi Conference of Catholic Bishops, the Ministry of Gender, Child Care Institutions under MCCM, and the Association of Women Religious Institutes, in Malawi. For Luntha News in Lilongwe, this is Gift Kalonga.
The Norwegian Church Aid and Danish Church Aid has urged faith leaders, civil society organizations and other stakeholders working on climate change to strengthen advocacy on climate change and climate financing. NCA-DCA Program Coordinator for the Fighting Inequality Project, Tadala Chumachienda, says Malawi is among the countries severely affected by floods, cyclones and other climate-related disasters, making climate financing critical to the country's resilience. Emmanuel Chocha has filed this report.
Speaking to Luntha Television, Chumachienda said there is a need for stakeholders to understand climate change financing and advocate for their effective use of resources received from external sources. Chumachienda said stronger advocacy will also help stakeholders to hold UDPRers accountable and ensure climate funds are managed transparently and for their intended purpose.
As you know, as a country, our budget when it comes to allocations for climate finance is very limited. We rely a lot on the external financiers, and when these funds come in, the accountability mechanisms are also very weak. So we want to empower the citizens so that they can be able to track the financing, they can be able to understand where the money comes from, and they can be able to follow it to see where if it's reaching the communities that have been affected by these effects of climate change.
Trokea Malawi Program Officer for Resilience and Livelihoods, Trasizio Galaundi, said Malawi has made progress in mobilizing support for climate financing but needs to do more to ensure the resources benefit communities affected by climate change.
The objective first is to raise more awareness about climate finance and accountability structures within the country and globally. As you can see, we've mobilized faith leaders and CSOs, which we believe are very crucial in terms of leveraging the information and their leadership in the communities, and also rallying voices behind at national level to support the accountability structures within climate finance.
With Malawi facing increasingly frequent floods, cyclones, and other climate shocks, stakeholders say effective climate financing must go beyond securing resources. It must ensure every kwacha reaches the communities most affected and is used transparently to build more climate resilience. Malawi. For Luntha News, this is Emmanuel Chocha.
The Ministry of Health and Sanitation has reported a positive response from communities in the ongoing national assessment on the prevalence of anemia and malaria. The assessment, which started on 17th August and will run until 10th September 2026, is targeting children and adolescents aged 6 to 19 years in 8 districts including Rumpi, Mzimba North, Kasungu and Neno. Clara Kanzade has filed a report read in our studios by Wanganichera.
Speaking in an interview with Luntha Television, Ministry of Health Public Relations Officer Benedicto Mbewe said participation in the districts visited so far has been encouraging. Mbewe said there have been no complaints from community members and that teams are moving well from Rumpi to Mzimba and now Kasungu. He said the ministry expects to benefit from the assessment as it will help in developing good policies and urged people to continue participating.
The response from the communities has been so positive. We started with Rumpi, Mzimba North, Mzimba South, now we are in Kasungu. Everything is okay. And we'll give you all the results of the assessment once we are done with all the districts. But I can say things are very positive.
Health expert George Jobe has described community participation as very important in getting accurate data on anemia and malaria. Jobe said research helps in making informed decisions and improving health interventions, adding that if the new assessment still shows high anemia rates, like the 56% recorded in 2024 MDHS, then government and other stakeholders must use the data to strengthen programs on nutrition and treatment. He added that such surveys are also important for attracting funding to address health challenges.
When the development partners, including NGOs, write proposals, there's a section, they analyze the problem. So they need data, they need a survey, in order to get funding.
The Ministry of Health and Sanitation says results from the assessment will be released once the exercise is completed in all targeted districts.
Former Donia pilot and retired Brigadier General Juvenas Ntende has told the Parliament Ad Hoc Committee investigating the Shikangawa plane crash that the accident could have been avoided if available weather forecast and aviation information had been properly considered before the flight. He made the remarks on Wednesday while testifying before the committee at Parliament Building in Lilongwe, where he was called to provide comparative pilot evidence on the operational characteristics of the Donia aircraft and the practical exercise of command and safety judgment during VIP and VVIP operations. Gift Kalonga has filed this report.
In his remarks, Ntende said that based on the weather conditions on June 10, 2024, he would have not flown to Mzuzu, describing the flight as too risky and saying it should have been cancelled. The former Donia pilot told the committee that the crew were best placed to assess the operational risks and determine whether it was safe to proceed. He said that had he been in command, he would have informed former Vice President Dr. Saulos Klaus Chidima of his decision not to fly and would have stood by that decision despite the pressure that can accompany VIP and VVIP operations, stressing that safety should always take precedence over operation or political pressure, regardless of the consequences of cancelling a flight. The testimony forms part of the second phase of hearings by the ad hoc committee. During the first phase, the committee heard from relatives and close associates of the 9 people who died in the crash. The committee also heard testimony from officials from the Ministry of Transport, the Ministry of Defense, and the Malawi Defense Force, as well as several former senior government officials. The committee is investigating the circumstances surrounding the June 10, 2024 crash in Chikangawa Forest that claimed the lives of former Vice President Saulos Klaus Chidima and 8 others. For Luntha News in Lilongwe, this is Gift Kalonga.
In international news, Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has ordered security forces to track down gunmen accused of killing dozens of people and abducting residents from 4 villages in Niger State. The attacks took place last Friday in the remote Bogu area near Nigeria's borders with Benin and the states of Kebbi and Kwara, where several mosques were attacked at the same time while people were attending prayers. We have an African News report read by Tandiwem Zumara.
Up to 500 people may have been taken hostage in attacks on 4 villages in the Bogo area, according to a local youth leader, though the figure has not been independently verified. The scale of the abductions emerged after attackers posted a video showing people they claimed were among those seized. Police spokesman Wasiu Abiodun told the BBC that more than 40 people were killed, although the exact death toll remains unclear. Several survivors, including people with serious injuries, are in hospital. The attackers reportedly wore military-style clothing and raided Dekara, Gidanzana, Sabongida, and Masaka. Many residents have fled, with some seeking safety elsewhere in Nigeria or crossing into Benin. President Tinubu condemned the killings and abductions, vowing to bring those responsible to justice. The attacks add to growing security concerns in Bogo. Earlier this month, police said 145 people were rescued after being abducted from 4 other villages, raising further questions about the government's ability to protect remote communities.
That item concludes our edition of the news. Before we go, another look at the headlines. Pope Leo XIV says active participation in liturgy deepens relationship with God and his saving work. Norwegian Church Aid and Danish Church Aid urges stronger advocacy for climate action and financing. Retired Brigadier General and former Donia pilot tells Chikangawa plane crash inquiry the accident was avoidable, citing weather and aviation information. And in other news, Nigeria president orders manhunt after deadly mass kidnapping. My name is Fales Chizombe. Many thanks for watching. Do stay tuned in for a weather update by Tapiwa Kurakumoto.
Good evening, and it's time for weather forecast. Cool to cold temperatures were experienced over most areas last night and today in the morning hours, with a few areas still experiencing and reporting very cold temperatures such as Mzuzu and Nika in Rumpi, which reported 10 degrees Celsius. It was cold over Chiteze in Lilongwe, Nzimba, Vumbwe in Cholo and Karere Forest at 11 degrees Celsius, while Mulanje Mountain also experienced cold temperatures at 12 degrees Celsius. We are currently expecting partly cloudy conditions over most areas, accompanied by cool to cold temperatures mostly tonight and tomorrow in the morning hours, while generally warm to hot temperatures are still expected tomorrow in the afternoon. We should also expect light to moderate winds to start blowing over our lake water bodies such as Lake Malawi and Lake Chirwa. Hence, we are advising all lake users, including fishermen, to be very observant. This is all due to the influence of this incoming high-pressure system, which will be pumping in fairly moist southeasterlies into the country, influencing all these conditions. This is also why tonight we are expecting few clouds to partly cloudy conditions over the southern part of the country, the central and the north, accompanied by cool to cold temperatures. It will feel cold tomorrow in the morning hours over most areas in the south, the central and the north, but we should expect mild temperatures to still persist in some areas such as Ngabu, Nsanje, Mangoshi and most parts along the lake shore. Looking into the morning conditions, we should also expect partly cloudy conditions to persist over most areas in the south, the central as well as the northern part of the country, coupled with a chance of isolated rain drizzles in the northern part. Afternoon temperatures are also expected to remain hot, with Ngabu and Isanje being forecasted at 29 degrees Celsius, 28 over Mangoshi and Monkey Bay, but generally warm conditions will be felt over the south, the central and the northern part of the country. We should also expect partly cloudy conditions to persist tomorrow in the afternoon hours over the southern part of the country, the central and the north, with some areas experiencing windy conditions. Looking into Friday, we should also expect partly cloudy conditions to persist over the southern part of the country, the central and the north, with a chance of isolated rain drizzles. We are also expecting Mwela winds to continue blowing over our lake water bodies. Hence, we are advising all lake users, including fishermen, to be observant. I'm Tapiwa Kurakumoto. Be wise, be